Welcome back to the Big Lad Podcast, back with another solo episode, and honestly, it's one I've been wanting to do for a little while. Just me, you, and a bit of the truth. Today's not going to be about motivational quotes or fluffy hype content. This one's about something a lot of us are feeling, and a topic I'm only seeing grow on social media at the moment, and that's burnout, the treadmill of modern life, the gym when you can't be arsed, the job that drains your soul, and that constant voice in the back of your head asking, is this it? We're going to talk all about it. And hopefully you'll walk away feeling a little less alone and a little more grounded. So let's get into it. Let's start with something familiar, the gym. I've been training for around 13 and a half years now, and that's a long time to be doing anything. The thing with the gym is that there's no end goal. It's a constant commitment to yourself and your health. I don't currently have anything to train for. I've got a knee injury that's kind of limited me in terms of any competitions that I can enter to have something in the short term to aim for. And I quite often get asked by people, how do you stay motivated? And the honest answer is, I don't. I'm just like anyone else. And as much as I enjoy going to the gym, I don't always want to be there. I always say, if you can get to the gym on the days that you don't want to be there, it'll make the days that you do so much easier. I'm not motivated, I'm disciplined, and that's what's been keeping me on track. Not only that, but knowing the mental benefit that I get from showing up, it's not always about the physical benefit. I see that as a byproduct of the discipline now. Motivation is a spark and discipline is the engine. Some mornings I wake up feeling like a brick. My body's stiff, my mind's elsewhere, and I'm tired. But I still get up and I go. And this isn't because I'm hyped, not because I'm chasing a six-pack or a PB. I go because I told myself years ago, this is just who I am now. It's baked into my identity in a way. I train and that's what I do. No debate, no negotiation, and that's discipline. In a world full of distraction, excuses, and laziness in this generation, discipline's an absolute superpower. Now, let's touch on something a little heavier, work. I've been in the corporate world now for over a decade. That's 10 and a half years of deadlines, Teams calls, and performance reviews. And if I'm being really honest about it, I'm tired and feeling a bit burnt out. Recently I moved jobs and I thought that'd give me a bit of a spark, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. And this isn't because I don't want to work, I'm not lazy, but it's because I don't always know what it's for anymore. I don't necessarily feel like I get anything from it other than a wage. And I don't really know what I want to do, but all I do know is that I can't do this for the next 50 years of my life. In this country, it's plugged into you from an early age. You go from high school to college, and then you either go to university or an apprenticeship, and then you go and get a job. It's that feeling where you feel like you're doing everything right, working hard, showing up, being professional, but you don't really feel like you're moving anywhere. It's almost like you're stuck in a loop. And it's important to note that burnout isn't always this big dramatic event. It's not always a big breakdown or a walkout. Sometimes burnout is just numbness. You wake up, you go through the motions, get to work, go to the gym, come home, scroll your phone, go to bed, and you don't even know what you're working towards anymore. And that's the part that eats at you. And I know so many of you listening right now are also feeling the exact same way. You're grinding, you're hustling, you're doing your best, but the reward, it feels like it keeps getting further away. And at what point do you stop looking to climb the ladder? Because I'm not sure. I've always said I'll stop climbing the ladder at the point where the pay rise doesn't match the increase in responsibility. But I feel like you've got to constantly climb the ladder to get the pay rises just to escape inflation these days. Because let's face it, life's expensive now. Another point when I stop climbing is when it starts to impact my work-life balance. At some point, I'd like to become a dad. And I don't want to be that dad that's working all hours, taking calls and not being present for my children. So let's rewind a little bit. Let's talk about being a 90s kid, because I'm seeing a lot of posts about this on social media recently, that we were the last generation to grow up properly, without phones and with freedom. I genuinely think we had the best childhood and maybe the worst version of adulthood. Think about it. We grew up riding bikes, playing outside till the streetlights came on, watching cartoons that were fun and didn't try and brainwash you with a load of nonsense. It was fun, it was free, and we had time to be kids. Now, fast forward to where we are now, and we're navigating adulthood in a completely broken system. Cost of living's through the roof, burnout is normalised, and social media is constantly telling us that we're not doing enough. We went from Tamagotchis and Game Boys to debt, mortgages, and existential dread. And here's the kicker. We were raised on the promises that no longer apply. Work hard, get a good job, buy a house, have a family. That path was once real, but for most of us now, it's just a fantasy. For instance, a family used to be able to function on one wage. Now you're lucky if a couple can afford a deposit for a mortgage. So let me just give you some numbers to put it all into perspective. Right now, the average wage in the UK is around £37,000 a year. So take your tax out, a pension and some bills, you're looking at around £2,300 a month in your pocket. Now, the average house price in the UK is around £282,000 with a 10% deposit and a 25-year mortgage. Your monthly repayment's looking to be around £1,455. That's over 60% of your take-home wage if it's a single person. Obviously, then that goes down to 30% as a couple if you're both on an average wage in the UK. And that's literally just to put a roof over your head before you've even paid for food, gas, or potentially even childcare. Or, God forbid, you try to save for the future. Now, let's just compare that to 25 years ago in the year 2000. The average house price back then, £78,950. The average salary was £18,848, which does sound like a lot of difference, but that is a 4.19 house to income ratio, whereas now it's 7.55. We're earning a lot more on paper, but the gap between the income and cost of living has absolutely exploded, and it's no wonder people are feeling stuck. You're not imagining it. You're not necessarily bad with money. The game has changed and the rules no longer favour you anymore. So you may be thinking, what do I do with all this information? Because I'm not here to give you a 5-step plan to escape the matrix. I'm not going to tell you to quit your job and live off grid, but here's what I am going to say. Keep showing up. Not because the system is fair and not because you're going to magically escape it next week, but because who you become when you keep showing up, that's where the power is. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. And there's something incredibly powerful in continuing, in not giving up, and even when the world feels rigged, you show up anyway. You show up to the gym, you show up to your job, you show up in your relationships, not for the applause, not for the Instagram story, but because that's who you are. And that consistency, that identity, that's what they can't take from you. And this isn't to say you can't go and change your job that you're doing currently in order to find purpose. You absolutely can. But you still need to show up because you owe it to yourself. I always say, life's too short not to do the things that make you feel happy. So go out there and put the work in and get it done. So if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling tired, stuck, and you're on the edge of burnout, I see you. I'm you. You're not broken. You're living in a world that makes it hard to stay whole. But you're still here. You're still trying. You're still showing up, and that is worth more than you know. So if this episode has spoke to you, do me a favour and share it with others because you're not alone. Drop it in your group chat and send it to someone who needs to hear it. And just let them know that they're also not alone either. If you have enjoyed this one, make sure you drop a like. If you're new, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.